So in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how you get to put a price or value on your time. Yeah, because this was a question that was frequently asked by most of my members in my community. So without wasting much time, let's get started. All right. So how do we get to put a price on our time and make it make sense to our clients? So as I said, it was a question that was brought forward by one of our members called Faith. And she said, as a summary, how do I get to put a price or value on the time, especially as a service provider, in a way that makes sense to my clients? So we need to zoom out and look at what's the real problem behind people wanting to put a price or value on their time, because that's the most important thing. And turns out that most solopreneurs or most entrepreneurs who are asking this question, they're usually pricing their time or they're usually valuing their time. So, in other words, they are pricing their time, not the transformation. And that is what is causing most of the time. So, an example would be that they would say, I'll charge you $25 per hour. If you're in Uganda, you'll say, maybe I'll get to charge you 50,000 per hour. Yeah. And when you get to do such a thing, what you're trying to communicate to your prospect, what it is that you're trying to communicate to your client, is that what it is that you're selling is just the time and not the results. Should I say it one more time? When you get to say you will charge $25 or you will charge 30,000 or 50,000 shillings per hour, what you're trying to communicate is that for you, it is the time and not the results that you're trying to sell to your prospect, to your client. I'm not saying that that's bad, yeah, but the underlying problem behind saying you're charging $25 per hour, behind saying you're charging $50 per hour, is that clients don't care about your hours. Yeah. In fact, what it is that they do care about is what is it that those hours are going to do for them. Yeah. In other words, they only want the results that come after you working with them, spending all your hours, your value most, and give them what it is that they want. In this case, it's the value. So some of the things that they tend to care about so much, as in the transformation they care about is they need to have clarity. Yeah. Are you giving them clear guidance on how to achieve a certain or specific goal that you want to get? If you're a designer, is your design trying to bring in the credibility, the trust, yeah, the legitimate, the status they are trying to look out for? If it is growth, are you giving them step by step processes that are going to bring in growth? Are you guiding them or are you bringing in more clients to their business that is going to help them grow as much as they anticipate? Yeah? So that is basically a transformation. And the examples I've given, there's nothing that says, oh, are you giving them more hours? Are you giving them more time? Yeah. But it's specifically what the hours you're giving them bring to them that may make them feel so valuable. Yeah. So that is very important. There's a quote that really gets to bind this all together. It is from the goat himself. Let me read it out for you. The easiest way to make more money is to charge for the same thing and make it worth it. And the way to make it worth it is by linking your time to outcomes clients really value. That was Alex Hamosi. All right. Now, when you get to look at this quote, yeah, the key thing is that when you get to link your time to the outcomes your clients get to value, that is when you make whatever it is worth it to your clients. And that is what they value most. And that is the only way you're going to put a price on your time. Okay. So just to get into the nitty-gritty part is that stop charging or stop saying that I'll charge 25 dollars per hour. Yeah. Because there you're just selling your time. But based on the quote we've just seen, you basically need to link your time and attach it together with the outcome and give clients what it is that they value most. And that is what most solopreneurs tend to forget. Let's now look at the general solutions. Yeah. So if you ask me, Alan, within one sentence or in the short answer, how do I get to put a price on my time? The shortest and quickest answer I'll give you is get to price outcomes, not hours. That is it. But for some of y'all who want to have like a deep breakdown of how you get to do this, yeah, they are basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps that are going to help you understand how you really get to put a price or how you really get to put value on your time. So let's get to look at each and every one. Yeah? So starting off with one, translate your time into tangible outcomes. Yeah. So relating it back to the Alex Hamosi quote that link your time to the outcomes that clients get to value most. Yeah. So stop saying that I'll get to spend 10 hours on your project. I'll get to spend uh, 25 weeks on your projects. Remember, clients don't care about your hours. Clients don't care about your time period. All they care about is the transformation that they get. And I already gave you examples of what those are. I said, if I'm to recall for you, in case you've forgotten, that is clarity, growth, status, strategy, and whatsoever. I just mentioned those up above. Now start to translate your time into tangible results. So an example here would be if you're, let's say you're a graphic designer, okay, and you design logos. So stop saying that I will in 10 hours I'll design for you a logo at 50,000 or at $50 per hour. That is wrong. Okay. The best way would be you would say to your clients that I'm going to give you a brand identity package that is going to make your business look credible, trustworthy, and legit. Yeah. So that you attract more clients. Okay. And at the end of the day, you're going to give me maybe $300, or at the end of the day, maybe you're going to give me, uh, let me see, what is 300 worth in Uganda shillings? Maybe at the end of the day, you're going to give me 1M. All right. So let's look at the example of what this is. Most of you will say, in 10 hours, I'll spend 10 hours on your project. But based on the example, maybe you start saying in 2 weeks, you'll have a complete result that will help you achieve a specific goal. So 2 weeks becomes the time. Then the result becomes the brand identity package. Remember, I'm giving you an example. And then the specific goal, that is you look credible and premium. That would be the specific goal. That is the outcome that your clients want to get. And then as a whole round sum up, then you get to state your price. All right. So remember the example I gave you that in 2 weeks, or maybe in 1 week, 1 hour, 50 hours, depending on the time you take. Yeah. So this doesn't get to make more sense, but it really gives them a time frame of how much time they have to expect to receive their package. Oh, so you'd say in 2 weeks, I'll get to give you a brand identity package that is going to help you uh, or help your business look credible, premium, and trustworthy. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be charging you $300. You see, now that is more specific. And here we have linked that time together with the result and the transformation that our clients get to have. So it takes us back to the word of Alex Hamosi, which says that always link your time to the outcomes clients value. And that is how you're going to make more money and charge more for the same thing, right? Maybe to add more insight about this value thing is that the value here, yeah, let me just go back to the example. When you look at this example, the value is never in the time. Yeah, value is never in the time, but rather it is in the what that time gets to bring to your clients. Yeah. So for instance, if you're spending about 5 hours to design a complete logo for a business, then the value is not in the 12 hours, but the value is in what that logo brings to your clients. And for this case, they build a business that looks credible, a business that looks premium. So now that is where the value is. Value is in premium, credibility that the logo gets to bring to your clients, never the time. Yeah. So I believe now that is clear. There's always this equation. If you really find it hard to translate your time into outcome, so this is the equation maybe that can get to guide you. So if you want to find your outcome value or your price outcome or your price value or whatever you want to call it, there's a simple method, and it goes by it is outcome value or outcome price will become or will be equivalent to the client desired results times the impact level. All of it, yeah, all of it divided through by that time to achieve. So let's get to look at what these equations get, what these parameters of the equations get to mean. Yeah. So when you look at the client desired results. So this is basically what is it that the client is ultimately paying for. Yeah. So it is not the how, it is not the when, it is not your process. Yeah. So most of you get to confuse client desired results with a process. Most of you get to confuse that with a house. Most of you get to confuse that with the time. Yeah, as we already mentioned. But client desired results is what it is that your clients are paying for. Yeah. An example here would be maybe they're paying you to get them 10 qualified leads. Yeah. So that is the specific uh, desired result that a client wants to get. And other times maybe they are paying you to launch for them a landing page that really gets to convert about maybe if 5% plus. Yeah. Or maybe they're paying you to get them back 10 hours that they would lose spending on a certain project. So that will be the client desired result. Now, here's the tip about this. If your strategy, if your examples get, if your strategy, if your parts, if your step by step guidelines get to help them, achieve about 10,000, then that becomes your client desired result. Yeah. So if you get them 10 qualified leads and each leads gets to give them about $1,000. So when you get to multiply $1,000 times that 10, you get about uh, 10,000. Yeah. Now that becomes your client desired result. Say if your route was to get them that. So now that becomes our 10. If you are to look at the impact level, so the impact level, it is how deeply your clients really get affected by the results that you came to give. Yeah. And an example here would be that if they worked with you and you gave them those 10 those 10 qualified leads, how deeply does that get to affect their business? Yeah. So you start rating them from high, medium, and then low. All right. So maybe for low will be that on a scale of zero point 0.0 to 0.5, with zero point 0.5 being the highest and zero point 0.0 being the lowest, how much does you getting them those 10 clients get to affect their business? Yeah. So if it is less, that would be maybe a zero point 0.1 or 0.3. Then you put that my 100,000 multiplied by the lowest impact that I get to give them, that is 0.1. If it is high, that is 0.5. Yeah. So now that is clear. So now we have to look at that time to achieve. So time to achieve is how long does it take you to deliver that? So it is simple. If it is 2 weeks, remember the time aspect I told you. If it is 2 weeks, then that is 2 weeks. So if we get to do the math, let me get my phone here and we do the math. So if we do the math, remember we said you got them 10 clients, yeah, or 10 qualified leads that each of those paid 1,000. So it gives us about 10,000 as our clients desired results. So if you multiply that by the impact level, and we say maybe those 10 qualified leads brought in the money that impacted them at the high state, that is 0.5. Yeah. So basically, with the impact level, it doesn't mind. It doesn't matter whether you use 0.5 scale, whether you use a 1 to 10, but just start grading the impact. Yeah. So basically, that's the whole point. So if you multiply this, for my case, I'm using 0.5 being the highest. So it is 10,000 times 0.5, which gives us 5,000 divided by the time it takes to deliver. Yeah. Say maybe it takes me about 2 hours. So I'll divide that by 2 hours. If it is 2 weeks, then I divide that by 2 weeks. Yeah. So if it takes me about 2 hours to get 25 qualified leads, then the outcome value or the outcome price, because I'm using value and price interchangeably here, will become 2,500. And that is it. That is what the clients are going to value most. Yeah. So at the end of the day, your process, your time is going to give these guys 25,000. All right. So with that out of the way, let's get to look at the next one, that get to use the client value ladder test. So with this one, I'm a fan of Alex Amosi, so I'm obsessed with his work. So I learned this from him. So for him, he says, if you're to use the value ladder test, this is basically where you get to ask three key important questions. Yeah. And these three key important questions are: one, how much is your result worth to your clients in terms of time, in terms of money, or in terms of reputation? Yeah. So if it is time, how much are you saving them? Yeah. Remember, the transformations that your clients want is that either you save them or buy them back the time they lose. So how much is your work worth to them in terms of saving them or buying them back their time? Yeah. Two, if it is money, how much money is your work or your time or the work you put in the time you do gets to uh, make them more money or save them more money from getting lost or save them money by not making losses. Yeah. If it is reputation, how much of that like how much is it worth to them that what you're doing is bringing them the status they want to have, is growing their business to the levels that they dreamed of, the levels that they want to have. Yeah. Now, that is so very important. And now that becomes our question one. Yeah. Remember, it is the ladder value test. First step of the ladder is how much is your result worth to your clients? So you gauge this in terms of time, you gauge this in terms of money you get to save them, that is time you save them, money you get to make them or stop them or save them from losing, and then lastly the reputation, that is the status or the growth of their business. Okay, now that is the first step. The second step of the ladder becomes, what would it cost them if they did not fix that problem, or what would it cost them if they did not work with you to achieve that transformation? Okay, that is so important. So now that's where you bring in your business heart and say, oh, if they don't work with me, they are going to lose out their money. If they don't work with me, they are going to work with someone who doesn't know what it is that they're doing. And at the end of the day, they are going to lose a lot of time. At the end of the day, they're going to lose a lot of money. At the end of the day, their reputation is on like their reputation is on the blink of failing. Yeah, if it is a status if it is the status they are aiming out for, then they're not going to get that because the people they are working with, they don't get to give them the real taste of the money. They are not giving them the transformation. They are giving them, or they are selling them the time. So that is the second step of the ladder. That is, what would it cost them if they did not fix the problem they have, or what would it cost them if they did not work with you? So you can interchangeably use that question. What would it cost them if they did not fix the problem they have? Yeah, that is so impactful. But in another way around, you can say, what would it cost them if they did not work with you to fix the problem that they have? Yeah. So whichever route you want to take, that is up to you. Yeah. But I would highly recommend to go with what would it cost them if they did not fix the problem that they have. So this is going to give them the kind of urgency, yeah, or the impact. If you have to go back to the equation we said, it is going to gauge the impact of how much they really need this, and if you happen to give them that, what impact does that get to bring to their business? Yeah. So that is also clear. And then lastly is going to be the third step of the equation, which is what transformations are they really paying for? Yeah. And examples here would be, are they paying for relief? Maybe they have pain, maybe they're always on gunpoint for, like, oh, I need more time, I need more time. So when you get to work with them, maybe give them relief by buying back their time. Maybe you earn them status. Yeah. So you build up and boost up their reputation. Yeah. And then the last one, maybe you bring them growth. If their business was stolen, how are they, like, what kind of transformation are they really paying for? Maybe they come to you and they want to pay you to help them boost up their business growth. Yeah. So now those are the three questions. And the important thing here that you get to understand is that when you get to answer all those three questions, yeah, what you're going to have there is a value anchor, yeah, that is going to justify the price you tend to give. So if we are to go back to this equation, remember the answer we got here, we said it is 2,500. So that becomes our value anchor. Yeah. So it is a price that we're supposed to play around. Yeah. If you choose to go below that, don't extremely go less. If you choose to go above that, don't extremely go so high. Yeah. So it becomes your value anchor that, oh, I need to play around the 2,500 figure because now I know the impact from the third question from the second question we asked that what would it cost them if they don't fix that problem? You're going to know the impact. What are they really paying for? As in, what kind of transformation are they really wanting to achieve? So that becomes your desired result. So they want to have growth. Okay, what kind of growth in their business? They don't have leads. So let me give them the 10 leads. We did that example already. Yeah. And then now this becomes your own. That how long should I get to get this work done? So that is up to you, because for them, they don't care about the time. Yeah. But a pro tip I can give here: if you can give them this result in the shortest time possible, that even gives you an upper hand to charge more. That gives you an upper hand to add more on what it is that you price for your work or for your value. Yeah. That is now clear. Just let me know in the chat, or just let me know in the comments. Are you really finding this video kind of valuable? Are you finding this format really valuable? Because I want to know if you're finding it valuable. And if you are, let me know from which point of, or from all this that we've said, what has resonated with you the most. So, anyways, now we head over to the second step of the solution, or the second solution step that you can put in place, or you can implement right away to put a price of value on your time, so that it makes really sense, like complete sense to your clients. And that is, frame your price around the results and not the effort. So I don't want to over explain this, because again, it relates back to always get to price for outcomes and not results. Just that here, if I'm to give examples, I would say from the pricing psychology 101, you need to understand the fact that people buy based on contrast. And that is key. If you put that in mind, this is going to be a whole lot more easier for you to, price your time, or put a value or price on your time. Yeah. So let me just give an example. If your strategy is worth 1,000, yeah, and I'm going to call this a 1,000 strategy. So if your 1,000 strategy gets to save your clients about 10,000 worth of money, 10,000 worth of dollars, or if it is in Ugandan currency, whichever currency it is in your country, just replace that. Yeah. So I'm just using a universal currency here. Yeah. If your 1,000 strategy gets to save your client $10,000 worth of money, yeah, in terms of mistakes, yeah. So you apply your 1,000 strategy and you save them 10,000 worth of mistakes that they would have lost in terms of money, or 10,000 in terms of time, yeah. Then there, you've really made their value, or you've really made the value so obvious, because whatever it is that you're doing or implementing has saved them a lot of time. So when you get to price, when you get to frame your price around the results, you're basically saying that I'm going to save you 10,000 worth of money from the mistakes you would have made, so that you don't get to make that mistake. Yeah. So they look at how much they are saving and how much they are going to pay for that. And then that makes complete sense. They will start saying, oh, 1,000 seems to be cheap. Let me just pay you. Yeah. And that is how you put a price on your time. Why should you get to do that? Is that when you get to communicate price, yeah, you kind of say, or when you get to say that I'm going to apply this 1,000 strategy to save you $10,000 worth of mistakes. Basically, trying to communicate, what you're trying to communicate is that it is not all about paying for my hours. No, it is never that. It is basically about securing the right results with the less risks. Yeah. So if at all you've been confused about how you get to frame your price around the results, so basically what you get to do is that you start communicating to your clients that it is never about paying for your hours, because that doesn't make sense. Yeah. Remember psychology. To them, they don't care about your hours. So you make that clear that working with me is never about paying for my time. Yeah. But it is all about securing the right results. Yeah. Faster and with less risks. Yeah. So when they now sit down and analyze, oh, I'm going to get the results faster and with less risk for this amount of money, then why not give this lad a job? Why not give this agency a job? Why not give this person my money? All right. So there, I think it makes more clear sense. Yeah. And maybe to add on that is that When you get to start communicating that kind of way, framing your price around results, then it differentiates you from being a service vendor to now being a strategic provider. And remember, the levels to the levels, the amount of money service vendors get to have is less than what strategic providers get to receive. So keep that in mind. So let's head over to the next solution. Always get to calculate a minimum hourly value. It wouldn't make more sense if I gave you solutions that really cared so much of the clients and ignored you as a part. Because remember, it is you plus the client that come together to make what business is, or to define what business really get to mean. That is seller plus buyer coming together to make some kind of deal that involves a transaction. Now, it wouldn't make sense if I don't give you some gem for you in order for you to understand your pricing time, or pricing, or putting time on your, price on your time. So get to calculate a minimum hourly value that is internally only. And I'm going to explain to you in a short why this gets to really make complete sense. Okay. If you're trying to run some sort of business, you still need to have some sort of baseline that you know what your time is going to be worth. Yeah. Because for you, it is all about the time. For your clients, they don't care about the time. So you have to understand clearly that what is my time worth? Yeah. Now, this tends to be confusing, but I want you to understand this. If you head over to the marketplace, for you, it is all about doing the job, the best job you can, in the shortest time possible, while giving utmost results or utmost value to your clients. Why? Because to your clients, for them, it is all about how do I get the best transformation? How do I get the best value from the marketplace, regardless of the money? Because remember, for them, they don't care about your hours. And for you, you mind so much about your hours, because it doesn't make sense if you spend about 2 years working on a project that is going to give you $100 or $1,000. It doesn't make complete sense. Yeah. Because for you, it is now more of the time than the value. As much as you get to link your time with value, that is what the clients want to have. Yeah. So if that's you, then I want you to start applying this quick formula. Yeah. This quick formula is derived from one of my frameworks. Yeah. The price framework. And within the price framework, we get to have this real cost. Yeah. So it says, well, for us to get the real cost, yeah, we have to have desired annual income. That is our desired annual income as solopreneurs, as vendors, as strategic providers, whatever you call yourself as a business person. Yeah. Plus your business costs. That is direct costs, indirect costs, all the expenses that go into that job you're doing to deliver a result of value to your clients. Then divide all that through by the billable hours. Yeah. Maybe to give you an example, I would say if my desired annual income is about making $20,000. Yeah. Let me get my phone and we get to do the math together. All right. If my desired annual income is in a year, because annual is a year, I want to make $20,000. Yeah. But throughout my entire time of running a business, maybe I get to have about 5 to 7 gigs. And those gigs, the bills that are attached to those bills, or the amount of cost that I have to put or spend to get those jobs done, that is in terms of software, in terms of internet, in terms of if there's some paperwork involved, in terms of maybe uh, airtime, if I told you, call your clients, yeah, maybe client acquisition and all that. Basically, all the costs you spend to get that job done, or to get those jobs you do in a year done, yeah, and maybe that billable cost is about, let me say, annually, maybe about $5,000, yeah, of business costs. So that gives me about 25,000. Because remember, our annual desired income is 20,000, but the cost that it took us to get these works done is about 5,000. Yeah, this is an example. It is a theoretical example. So totaling that up is going to give us 25,000. And if we get all these 25,000 and we divide it by our billable hours, I'll be making a video about billable hours. But I would say maybe in a year, your billable hours are about about, let me just give a theoretical example, 100 hours in a year. So if you divide 25,000 by 100, we get 250. Yeah. And that becomes our real cost. That becomes what exactly our 1 hour gets to be worth it. All right. So I hope now that makes sense. This $25, or I mean that this $250 per hour now becomes our minimal or minimum hourly value. Yeah. But with this, you don't get to share it with your clients. That becomes you. That's why I said you have to know your calculate your minimum hourly value internally only. It becomes yours to know, because the moment the clients get to learn on that, my goodness, expect to make losses, and that is something we didn't want. All right. So 250 we've seen becomes our minimum hourly value. In other words, this becomes our reference. Yeah. It is not for the sales point. No, it becomes our reference. Yeah. So whenever we try to do the math, yeah, whenever we try to account for the work we are going to do, we make sure that our hourly rate doesn't, or our minimum, or our rate doesn't go beyond $250 per hour. In other words, if you get to make that mistake and you go beyond or less than that, most of for those people who don't know what this is, I'm glad I made this. So if you're watching this, then you're lucky. Just give me a like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, because there are more gems that are coming your way. Yeah. So if you haven't calculated your minimum value, then get right to it, because now this is going to become your reference point to which you never get to price less than that for your time. Now, I hope it makes more sense. Yeah. For the part where it is not clear to you, just let me know in the comments. I'll come and address that. I'll be answering each and every comment myself. All right. Now that is out of the way. And the last general solution that is going to help you put price of value on your time and gets to make more sense to your clients is start communicating the client's language. Yeah, this is so important because most of the time, as solopreneurs, as graphic designers, freelancers, or whatever we deal in the business, we tend to communicate in a language that we understand as us. If you're a graphic designer, you communicate in the language that you graphic designers get to understand. If you're if you're a photographer, you start communicating in a photographic language. But your clients don't get any of that. So if you want to really get to price or value your time and don't get to confuse your clients, then start communicating in the client's language. Yeah. So maybe an example I would say, do not talk about what it is that you do. Yeah. Because most of the time we tend to confuse. Using an example, having a photographic background, I used to say that now I'm going to have to set up my lighting. I'm going to have to bring props. I'm going to have to get a makeup person. Then I have to shoot. Then I'll have to edit. Then I'll have to trim, make it more sense. Then I have to get the composition. Bro, stop doing that. If you do that, it means you're communicating in the language that you as a person only understand, and your clients don't understand that. Yeah. So the language that your clients get to have, still using the photographic experience as a background, because I had some time in it, all right, is that just talk to them about what it is that they get. As much as you know the language behind that, for them they don't. So the only language your clients will get to understand is that this is what you're going to get. Work with me. I'll take your photos, and this is what you're going to get. And now, when you say that, there you're so clear about how you get to communicate in their language, and it becomes easier for you to even add value or put value or price on your time, because now they are clear of the transformation they want to get. Yeah. So let me even give you another extra example, just to even drive that point home. Yeah. Maybe the photography one wasn't quite appealing. Um, Most of you came to say, I'll get to create a marketing strategy for 5 hours. Bro, when a client comes to you, they don't care about your time. They don't want to know what is it that you're going to do behind doors or behind the curtains to get them the results. Yeah. In fact, what they really want is that, am I going to get growth by working with you? Yeah. So, okay, if you're kind of person who say that, now let me give you a proper way of how you can get to communicate this with your client. So, this is what you get to say. I'm going to help you create a strategy that is going to position your brand for constant and consistent client inflow without you ever having to waste time, without you ever having to waste money on ad spend. Yeah. So now that is the language they understand. Because to them, what it is that they understand is that for me to get consistent inflow of clients, I have to spend so much on ads. Yeah. I have to waste so much of my time trying to run the ads. And I have to waste time trying to come up with strategies. Yeah. That is the language they understand. Now, because for you know each and everything, you stop speaking the inner lingo as a marketing strategy and just explain to them what is it that they're going to get by working with you. And I said, you say, I'm going to give you a strategic plan that is going to position your brand for consistent client inflow without you wasting time and money in ad spend. That is it. That is it. Yeah. So the difference here is that with a first statement where you say that I'm going to create a marketing strategy for 5 hours. Yeah. The difference here is in the framing. The first person frames his preposition or his pitch in terms of hours. Basically, they're trying to sell their hours or their time, not the result. But in the second example, it's basically you're trying to to frame your pitch, yeah, or your offer more from the transformation side of it. Yeah. And guess what? The second option is 10 times more persuasive than the first one. And if you're the kind of person who is always confused about that, then don't get to do that mistake. Yeah. Now that sums up all the solutions you can get to put in place or implement right away so that you get to put at the right price or the right value on your time and make it make sense to your clients. Now, as a bonus, I want you to do these quick implementation steps, right? So, one, I want you to write down 3 outcomes your clients get when they work with you. Yeah. If you don't have where to write, get your phone, open up the notes app, then write those down. If you have a sticky pad, if you're on a PC or a notebook, get this done. It is going to be so helpful. Write down the 3 outcomes your clients get when they work with you. Yeah, that would be one. And for two, for each outcome you wrote up, yeah, I want you to ask yourself, what's that worth to them in terms of money, time, and stress saved? Because this is so important. Yeah. If you don't know what you're doing, just refer back to the part where I was speaking about the equation. Yeah. That will give you more clear sense. So what's that outcome worth your client? So maybe to give you a brief or quick example, one of the outcomes I would say, I'll get them have 10 clients coming within 7 days. That would be one. And as for what it is, as in for what's that worth to them in terms of money, time, and stress, one, me implementing my steps or my system to give them 10 clients in the end of 7 days is going to save them time. That is one. It is going to save them the stress of looking out for clients here and there, cold calls, emails, what. I'll be doing that. So I'll save them the stress. I'll save them the time. And then at the end of the day, I'm going to save them the money because they'll never get to run ads on their own. Yeah. So that is how I would put it. And then lastly, get to a price around that. Yeah. Price around you getting them 10 guaranteed clients or 10 qualified clients, not the 7 weeks or not the 7 days you're going to spend looking for those clients. Yeah. So that would make more clear sense. So remember, implementation step, write down 3 outcomes your clients get when they work with you. And then for each and every outcome you wrote, get to ask yourself, what's that worth to their clients or to your clients in terms of time, money, and stress saved. And then lastly, when you have clarity of those two, then price around that and not the hours that you get to spend, right? So if you're watching this over YouTube, I have a free community over school. It's called The Climbers, where members get to ask such questions and I get to digest this deeply so that it makes clear sense to them and they get to price with confidence. So if you haven't, subscribe, hit the like button, share this to your fellow entrepreneurs who maybe have this same problem. And don't forget to check out school because there's more there than what I get to share here. So, that being said, I'll get to see you in the next